Mavericks Today by Chat Sports is back rocking and rolling. We're pushing out multiple videos every single week, and we are 61 subscribers away from 14K subs. So let this be your go-to spot for everything Mavericks this offseason, including NBA free agency rumors. Hit that red subscribe button down below or go to youtube.com/MavsTV. We're getting to some Kawhi Leonard to the Mavericks rumors once again, and of course this stemmed from that report from the Ringer's Kevin O'Connor back a couple weeks ago when he said that the Mavericks would be big players for Kawhi. If you don't know, here you go. He has a player option this summer, so if he opts out of that contract, he becomes an unrestricted free agent. He is free to sign elsewhere with any team across the NBA. And a big reason why there are these rumors of Kawhi potentially going to Dallas, he has a prior relationship with new general manager Nico Harrison, who is a longtime Nike executive going back a few years ago. And also Colin Cowherd on the Herd recently had this to say about Kawhi going to the Big D. He basically made sense of why Kawhi should team up with Luka Doncic and why this fit would be seamless and get the Mavericks back to championship contention. He said this, Cowherd, Miami, Dallas coming after him, and I think Dallas fits way better. First of all, Luka is a lot better than Jimmy Butler, and I like Jimmy Butler, but Luka is 10 years younger and better than Jimmy Butler. Also, because Dallas is only a 3-hour flight from California, you get taxed where you make your money. So he'd be in Dallas, but could still live close enough to keep his family in the mansion in California, which he just purchased, and you can have the house in LA. If he goes to Dallas too, he no longer has to guard Luka, who's the biggest nightmare for any great defender. Anytime Luka and Kawhi play now, hey Kawhi, you need to guard Luka. He would not have to do that anymore, which of course would help with his longevity, which there have been questions about that, and we'll get to that here in just a minute. So Cowherd's continuous points, doubling down on Kawhi to Dallas. Here it is right here to summarize it all. No state income tax. Over the course of, let's say, 3 to 5 years, Kawhi Leonard in Dallas would be able to save millions of dollars because of no state income tax. Chat Sports based in Dallas, I'm not going to lie. I'm not making millions of dollars, but to see a couple of extra bones in my paycheck every single month is a very, very nice bonus. Dallas is close to LA. It's in the middle of the country. If you don't know the geography of the United States, very easy and cheap flight to go out to Los Angeles, especially when you're riding on the PJ like Kawhi will. Teaming up with Luka, I think it's a fit that certainly works. Luka's usage rate has been out of this world since he got drafted by the Mavs. If they could kind of take a little bit of workload off of his shoulders, I think it helps him long-term for sure. And Luka looks like an early LeBron at this juncture of his career, but you don't want to see what happened to LeBron happen to Luka, where you don't surround him with a good supporting cast. He gets frustrated and decides to bolt elsewhere. We know that Kawhi also likes to keep it on the low. Low-key guy, doesn't like a lot of attention. I think that's why he likes being on the Clippers, because they're the redheaded stepchild of the Los Angeles Lakers in the Los Angeles market. All of the focus is on LeBron, Anthony Davis, and the Lakers, not on Kawhi Leonard. That would be the case in Dallas because all of the key focus is going to be on Luka. You have an outspoken owner with Mark Cuban in Dallas too, who obviously occupies a lot of headlines. And the Mavericks need him. You got to do whatever you got to do to make Luka Doncic happy. And if that's getting rid of Kristaps Porzingis, which we'll explore here in just a second, or signing Kawhi Leonard, no matter what you have to pay him, make Luka happy because he's a generational superstar who you want to keep right here in Dallas. So Mavs fans, tell me this. What's your level of interest in Kawhi Leonard? Obviously, he's been a great player. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. Sometimes the load management can frustrate a lot of people. Interested to get your thoughts on this, though. Scale your level of interest in Kawhi for me in the comment section from 1 to 10. You look at these two players side by side, they're fantastic. Two of the top 10 players in the league right now going into next year. Kawhi Leonard this past year, almost 25 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, north of 5 assists, shot an elite 51.2% from the floor, almost 40% from distance. Luka, on the other hand, his numbers even better from a scoring output standpoint, almost 28 points per game, 8 rebounds, 8.6 assists. Field goal percentage, a little less than Kawhi, so too is the three-point percentage, but the volume of shots much more. And also he's having to do a lot more, including facilitating, whereas Kawhi can take it kind of can kind of take a backseat, to guys like Paul George. And the durability with Luka, not a concern at all. So if Kawhi does want to take some games off, Luka has been able to readily stay on the floor. I talked earlier about the good and the bad with Kawhi. There's a little bit of both. Obviously, the good outweighs the bad because Kawhi Leonard is a generational player. He's a great player, two-time NBA Finals MVP, a two-time NBA champion. He is one of one. He's an elite two-way player as well. So you're not just getting a very good offensive player. You're getting a guy who can lock down the opposing team's number one option. He's a clutch bucket getter, whether that be in the regular season or the postseason. Shot clock dwindling, game clock winding down. You know who you go to for a bucket? It's Kawhi Leonard, and more times than not, he comes through. And in the playoffs this year, I thought the two best players, when they were at the peak of their powers, when they were still in it, with Kawhi's sense being healthy, it was Kawhi and KD. Those guys were going off, and you watch them, and you're like, it just looks a little bit different. Luka was certainly in that mix with KD and Kawhi as well. The bad with Kawhi. What's up with the ACL? If he opts out of his deal and becomes a free agent, how much money is he going to demand on the open market? Probably a lot because he's a great player, but is the ACL torn? Is it sprained? Is it partially torn? He doesn't have a good relationship reportedly with the Clippers team doctors. What's going on with the ACL? Got to find answers to that. He's injured way too often, but as I said, if he's out of the lineup, you have Luka to rely on. He's somewhat of a mercurial star. And you never know what Kawhi is thinking, and I think from a team-building, chemistry, culture standpoint, that can be a little bit prohibitive, especially with everything that's gone on in the Mavericks organization this offseason. I'm not sure they're the best culturally sound organization currently constructed in the league right now, and because of those aforementioned injuries, how does Kawhi age? My big question with Kawhi potentially coming to Dallas, it's the Kristaps Porzingis dilemma. I'm looking at this from a variety of ways. If you have Kristaps with that salary that's in the mid-30s in terms of millions of dollars, and he's your number 3, I actually don't hate if Kristaps Porzingis is occupying the power forward or center spots as the number 3 option on this roster. But at the same time, I don't think he's worth the money that he demands over the next few seasons. So if you bring in Kawhi and maybe trade away Kristaps Porzingis, that might be able to free up money elsewhere to continue to build around the team of Luka and Kawhi, which I think the Mavericks would be better off in doing the latter. Mavericks Today is presented by our friends at Newsbreak. It is the single best app that I have on my phone right now. Here's why. So say you're living in Dallas or one of the neighborhoods around Dallas. You type in your zip code and basically you're able to filter all of your local news on one single feed, and you're able to stay up to date with everything happening in the region, area, or community, or maybe even city that you live in if we're talking about Dallas. Because for me, I use it in the city of Dallas. You go to chatsports.com/MavsNB. You can download the Newsbreak app right now, and using that link at the bottom of your screen, it will redirect you to the App Store on either your iPhone or Android, and you can download the Newsbreak app for free. On one feed, local news and weather, politics, food, and pop culture, your sports content, and oh yeah, Mavericks content as well, because we have Mavericks Today videos living right now on the Newsbreak app. Could the Mavericks during this pivotal offseason, where they have to continue to build around Luka, maybe trade for a player who Luka is very familiar with? Fellow Slovenian Goran Dragic of the Miami Heat. Bleacher Report put out an article looking at one surprise trade target for every team, and they have Dragic going to the Mavs to team up Dragic and Luka. Both guys from Slovenia. They have a history. They have a friendship. Both of these guys really respect one another. And the Mavs actually a couple seasons ago looked into bringing Dragic to Dallas as part of that Jimmy Butler sign-and trade with the Sixers, but the Mavs didn't end up bringing Dragic in. According to early reports back then 2 years ago, it looked as though Dragic was making his way to the Mavericks, but it didn't come to fruition. Here's what Bleacher Report had to say in that article looking at these surprise trade targets. If Doncic's happiness is a concern, which increasingly it should be in Dallas, Dragic, who has a team option with the Miami Heat for $19.4 million this upcoming season, makes a lot of sense. If Doncic gets frustrated, Dragic could help be the sage voice of reason. Practically speaking, Dragic could help address the Mavericks' dearth of playmaking behind Doncic without compromising the team's long-term flexibility. When his deal comes off the books in a year, Dallas could either look to bring him back at a discount or let him go and chase the same marquee free agents It always does, because as we know, the Mavericks always aggressive in the trade market as well as free agency. Want to take a peek at Dragic's numbers from this past year. They went down slightly from when he helped the Heat go to the NBA Finals 2 years ago. But this is still, at this point of his career, when he's getting a little bit longer in the tooth, a guy in Dragic who's a good creator. He can knock down three-pointers very consistently. I like his creativeness and his creativity in terms of finding open passing lanes as well as teammates. He works well in the half court when things slow down, especially in the playoffs, or he can push it up-tempo in transition as well. I think those numbers are pretty solid, especially when you surround him and team him up with a guy like Luka, who's going to be manufacturing a lot of the offense. I talk about that relationship between Dragic as well as Luka, both guys from Slovenia. Dragic not taking part in the Olympic team. Luka obviously is. And when Slovenia, led by Luka and the monster stat line that he put up, which punched the ticket to the Olympics for the first time in that country's history, Dragic was actually on hand to watch Luka and Slovenia ball out and punch their ticket to the Olympics. And this is what Luka had to say. He's very thankful that Dragic was on hand. Obviously, I wish he was playing with us. He was the guy in Eurobasket 2017, but it's great that he comes here all the way to support us. It means a lot, not just to me, but to the whole federation. I kind of like this for a couple of reasons, because Dragic, Luka, they have a friendship. They're both from Slovenia. My one roster fit question, though, what would this mean for Jalen Brunson? He's set to make a little more than $1 million last year of his rookie contract this upcoming year, and I'd say Brunson and Dragic are very similar players. Now, would Dragic be the starter and Brunson would come off the bench to be that secondary playmaking option at the point guard spot, or vice versa? Possibly, but if you want to have Dragic on the roster for the next few seasons, would it make sense, to also have Brunson on the team as well? That's something that Nico Harrison, Mark Cuban, and Luka will have to get together and think about, because I like the upside of Brunson. Even though he was somewhat silent in the playoffs, I did think he had a really good season this past year. So do you want the Mavs to trade for Dragic? Get your votes in before we head on out of here on Mavericks Today. Type Y for yes, type N for no. Get those votes in down below.